Bid Nerds is your daily YouTube car game show, where we predict the online auction results of the most interesting cars on Bring a Trailer, Cars and Bids, Hagerty Marketplace, and more. It's just like the Price is Right game show. Play along and see if you can beat the nerds. Oh, look at that. Michael Deeb. Look who's in the driver's seat. Talk, Michael Deeb, you're on.
Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Bid Nerds. I am your co-host, Michael Deeb, and deja vu all over again. I am back, what I would say, home in Vegas, even though I'm moving my last U-Haul of stuff to San Francisco. I can't tell you how sad I am about that, but it's great to be here. And Mental and Wade, thank you for vacating the studio and making me feel like I smell. What happened? I show up and everybody's gone. Well, yeah, we moved the party, Deeb. We forgot to tell you.
Everyone knew you were coming to town, so we're gonna find other things to do. Yeah. We don't mind, doing a show with Deeb, but not
in person.
In the same room. That's kind of a tall order.
Not shaking his hand.
Yeah. I mean, there it is. All right. Welcome, everyone. Brand new episode of Bid Nerds. That is true. My partner, Michael Deeb, is in the room. I am hitting the buttons instead of our boy, Switcher Gary. Are we going to keep calling him Switcher Gary? I mean, I think maybe he's going to grow his hair back out. I don't know.
Yeah, he's probably going to grow it out again just so he can donate again. What charity did he donate his hair to? I mean, he actually cut it for a cause that was so saintly you and I wouldn't, first of all, we couldn't do what he did. I mean, let's get real here.
We could. It would just be like the ultimate. Who was the guy from the Steelers? Terry Bradshaw.
Oh, totally. Total
Bradshaw. The worst, Chimo ring of all time, down to our backs. Yeah, it would take a while.
It would take a while. Full Gallagher effect.
Not so good. That's just a bad look, man. Hey guys, welcome to the show. We are doing it a little bit early. This is we're going to try to start doing the show Sundays and Wednesdays. That's when we always do it, but we've been typically starting around 7:30, really closer to 8. We'd like to get started around 6:30, closer to 7. So that's just what we're going to do. That's what we promise we're going to try to do that so that you guys on the East Coast can get on the show a little earlier. I don't know. We didn't really announce anything, so I don't know if anybody knows. I'm sure all the nerd herd's going to be like sitting down at their desks in like 45 minutes going, wait, what? The show's half over? What the hell's going on? These guys are always late. But this is the show. It's The Price is Right meets... I don't know what. Describe the show, Michael Deeb.
Describe the show. What we do here is we pick the most interesting car of the day that are closing on all the popular automotive auction platforms like Bring a Trailer, PCAR Market, Cars and Bids, the MB Market. Who am I forgetting? Hagerty Marketplace has an auction, I heard. And we pick the car for you, we review it, and then we guess what we think it's going to sell for. And then we hold ourselves accountable. Like in a couple days, we come back after that car is closed and we check our bids against the result and we decide who the winner is. And as we say all the time, JP, the nerd herd, the audience that watches the show, guess the results better than we do. But we don't give enough because it's our show and we can do whatever we want, like drink beer and eat Cheetos.
We are going to be drinking in the show. Why don't you tell everybody a little bit about Gaudin Porsche and Gaudin Classic?
All right. So the Bid Nerds are brought to you by our sponsor and good friends, Gaudin Porsche of Las Vegas. Gaudin Porsche is the first Porsche classic partner in North America. That started in 2016, actually, when they became the first Porsche classic partner in North America. Out of 190 stores, there's about 13 or 14 now, I think. I've kind of lost track. But Gaudin Porsche was the first. They can service your Porsche. They can source parts from the Originale catalog, which has about 65,000 parts for every Porsche that's ever been made, including the E1 platform Cayenne, and 997 911s are now classic, John. Did you know that?
Yeah, it's crazy.
As of last year. It's crazy. So they can get parts for cars that they stopped providing parts for to the regular stores, but the Porsche Classic partners can get these parts, and they source them from like 7,000 vendors around the world to continue sourcing parts for every Porsche that's ever been made. Gaudin Porsche of Las Vegas is your Porsche Classic partner. They're our sponsors of the show. Sales, parts, service, whatever you need, call them and tell them the Bid Nerds sent you. We love them.
All right. Don't
we have a new sponsor?
We do have a new sponsor, but I am in the middle of starting doing a bunch of stuff. So why don't you tee everybody up for what we're doing here today?
All right. So we are going to cover 3 cars that we basically opened or introduced on Wednesday. There's going to be some really cool cars. A couple of Porsches that we looked at that were really special. And our friend Sahan, who lives in Oakland, Sahan selected for us that 1987 Mercedes-Benz 560 SEC that had that wide body kit. I don't want to give the whole farm away, but that car brought 50% more money than you and I thought it was going to bring. And I'd like to know if who keeps track of the Nerd Herd bids? Who is that? The guy in Utah?
Or
Idaho, the guy in Idaho.
Does Randy do it?
Randy, thank you, yeah. Randy. Sorry, I keep forgetting your name. Randy, I can't wait for Randy to pull up the numbers on that car to show us where the herd picked, because this result was a head scratcher, and I got no hair to scratch, so that really hurt. You know what I mean? And then we'll do 4 new cars tonight, which will be kind of fun. A couple of Porsches and an Italian car and another German car. That's what we're doing tonight.
All right. And we do have a new sponsor. We have Our Smiths up in Idaho. Speaking of Idaho, Anthony's hanging out in the Nerd Herd already in the gallery. What's up, Anthony? How you doing, buddy? If you guys out there have a fine Swiss watch and you need service for that 5 machine, Anthony's your guy up there at Our Smiths. We're going to be debuting his brand new commercial when it's time for our commercial break.
Wait to see that.
Halfway through the show, he did a really good job. All I did was the voiceover. So he had someone else do video on the show. How's that possible? But they did a great job. Looks really good. And so is their service. What's
is
that?
it Der Fascination approved?
Yeah, dude. They did a really nice job.
Is it the Foss Universe approved? I mean, can we see that?
You know, they got the DOF, yo. All right. Let's do this thing. Okay, so we're just getting started. Bid Nerds is ready to go. Michael Deeb, we made some predictions last Wednesday, and let's go ahead and get to them.
John, you and I are nerds of the highest degree, and I'm sure we have, more than a dozen dream cars. But I got to tell you, the first car, this 1993 Porsche 911 Carrera C4 30th anniversary Jubilee edition, is a car they sold in 1993 to the rest of the world. This particular model of the 964 was never sold in North America or in the United States. They made 911 of the Jubilee cars. Most of them were in this kind of gorgeous violet or viola metallic paint, which is this really cool purple. And then of the viola cars, 85-90% of those came with this really unusual Rubicon gray draped leather upholstery. This car is stunning. They're numbered. Our car was number 540 and happened to be, because it's over 25 years, titled in the United States, I think out of Montana in the Sellers LLC. What else is new? But the car is located in Santa Barbara, California. I'm telling you, John, if you or I had FU money, I bet one of the two of us would own this car. Our good friend Sebastian, who's part of the Nerd Herd, has been trying to sell his M491 and take that money and buy one of these cars, even if he has to bring it in himself. But this car is already here. So stunning car, 35,000 kilometers, which is just 22,000 miles. Not only is it a rare car, but this is one rare car in rare condition. A lot of these cars are for sale in Europe. If you go to some of the portals that show you some of the popular European listings, these cars are kind of commonplace over there throughout Europe and Germany, but you rarely see them with under 160,000 kilometers, 200,000 kilometers. I mean, the Europeans drive their cars into the ground. This car's clearly been garaged and pampered and clearly used only on loving occasions. It was never somebody's daily or a car that was just driven every weekend, that kind of thing. This is a car that's been really looked after. So now it's in the United States. It shows up on Bring a Trailer. We look at it, and we just went goo-goo over it. I love this car. The only option, John, which we didn't really talk about, is this car doesn't have sports seats. That's about the only thing on here that would have made it like, a tinge nicer. I'm not entirely positive either you or I could fit in the sports seats, but you'd always want one with the sports seats, even if you had to like squeeze in there. But super nice car, manual transmission, all-wheel drive, normally aspirated Carrera. I spent too much time on it already. I said that I thought this car would sell for $285,000. John, you took the under, saying that cars like this, despite the numbered whatever, The market is soft, inflation is up, blah, 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 drinking game. Here, let me go ahead and do that. That this car would come in at around $250,964. Do you have any bids to pull up from the herd?
Looks like Chris Carbine said it would. No, this doesn't quite make sense. I was 72.5. Something's wrong there.
Yeah, Carbine saw when the thing closed, and he was saying that him and a couple of the nerds were right at that 300 mark.
Yeah,
which would put them close because the car did sell, despite having a reserve, for $296,400. So that's number 2, 96400. A couple of the herd members were on either side of that number, so nobody got a Yahtzee, but they, a couple of the guys who were watching came really, really close. So, John, without going too far into this, I know you and I love the car. Are you surprised that this car, which you thought might be softer than I thought? Again, we both agreed this was a $300,000 car 6 months ago, but this is still a $300,000 car. Is it because of the low miles and the rare numbered whatever, or is there something else going on here that we missed? What do you think? How do you decipher that result?
I don't know. There's a lot going on right now in the world, right? And I think, look, we always talk about let's go ahead and, but where's sorry. No, that's not the right thing here. I'm trying to hit the right button there. But anyways, the drinking game thing, inflation, right? We talk about we haven't really talked about inflation a whole lot lately.
But you've never said it.
I used to go on long rants about it, but I think I've kind of been off of that for a minute. Not because I don't think inflation is still a really big problem and a really big thing and is legit, and it's definitely affecting the values of cars. But I think that interest rates are also, there's already been talk of interest rates dropping sometime.
Do you think that will happen? You teased it, or not teased it, but you presented that last week, and I hadn't heard that. You said they're talking about not only doing it, but doing it repetitively throughout the year. If they execute 6 reductions, that'd be every 2 months the interest rates would come down.
Yeah, I mean, there's talk of like 500 to 800 bips, which is a basis point, which is a percentage. It's like they've broken. It used to be back in the day. Deeb and I are pretty old. Back when we were coming up, percentage rates, an increase from the feds meant 1% or 2, right?
Yeah.
Now they broke down a single percent to 100 basis points, and they call it a bip, right? Yeah. So when they say, we're reducing it by 50 bips. It gives them more latitude to play around when they're playing around with not a whole lot. I personally think that interest rates should stay high for the foreseeable future because inflation is not down, people. They're telling us that inflation is down, but they're talking about inflation from
last year.
From last year. It's still up over, 3 years. Right. It's still way up. And they're not even saying over last year. They're saying like over the last quarter, usually when they say it, right?
Yeah.
Or the last time they did a report. So it's total bullshit what they're trying to, the way they play this game.
That's the work of the spin doctors, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
When some expert says that inflation is down, what they're actually saying is that inflation hasn't gone up as much as it has in before. But it's still up, right? So if you start at 0 and then a year later it's 10%, and then 2 years later it's 10%, that's 20% over 2 years, kids. This is some basic math. But then in the third year, if it only goes up 5 points or 8 points, right? They're like, oh, look, we did our job. Inflation's down. It's like, no, it's not. I mean, go to the grocery store and try to buy, some beef, some ground meat. It's crazy expensive. Or those bag of Cheetos. Remember when a bag of Cheetos in 2019 was like $1? Now you go into a 7-Eleven and it's $3. And
hit me with a Venmo and I'll pay you for this.
You owe me $3.50. Those are the expensive ones because the little ones.
Yeah.
Look, inflation is still definitely a thing. So when we see, not only are prices coming down because usually when you say inflation's going up, that means prices go up. But now we're kind of in this scary place where, yeah, everyone's buying power has been ripped apart. So everyone's getting really kind of tight with their money. So now not only are the prices for things like cars going down, even enthusiast cars that have been have always been a little bit of an insulation compared to normal used cars. But I think these classic cars are still a bit of a hedge, just like any commodity would be, or just like any, if the value of your money goes down, usually the value of hard goods, durables goes up, but not if there's just tons and tons and tons of supply, which is what's going on right now. There was a real big shortage of supply in cars for the last 2-3 years. Right. And there was a lot of excess capital floating around, a lot of excess liquidity, is like they like to say, when people have a lot of money, when the feds are just printing and buying up all the, doing that quantitative easing stuff again. So right now, they're not doing quantitative easing, but they are still printing. The government is still spending gobs and gobs of money, and that money goes into the system somehow. So even though interest rates are up, they've still printed money. Usually what they do is they raise interest rates and lower spending, but what they're doing right now is they're raising interest rates and increasing spending, and it's just jacking everything up. So I think we're still in for a rough road, but I think it's probably fair to say that the powers that be are going to try to continue to juke the numbers rolling into an election season, because the guys that are in power do not want a bad economy as you go into an election. I'm not saying which guy or guys or gals you should be voting for. I'm not saying any of that kind of stuff. I think it's just intuitive. It's just pretty obvious that when someone's in power, they don't want to create reasons for people not to vote for them. And so it behooves them to at least try to fake the economy and make sure it's still moving, and so that people aren't stressing the hell out as they go into that voting booth or, their kitchen table or wherever the heck you vote for them nowadays, since you don't have to actually go anywhere. So yeah, what's that mean? What's that going to mean for classic car prices? Are classic cars a good place to hedge against potential continued inflation? Are we going to see a ton more inflation if interest rates go down? My guess is yes. So find some place to put your money that's not currency, I'm guessing. And that's probably why we're seeing a rip in crypto right now.
Mm-hmm. So do you think this $300,000 is a good price paid for a rare sort of blue chip 964?
I do, given the fact that I think in 6 months, $300,000 is not going to be worth nearly as much as 300 is now. It's good if he converts that 300 grand into something that will be a hedge. And would the car have been a better hedge? Would he have been better off to keep it in the car and just waited it out? I don't know. With inflation, unfortunately, a lot of people have a hard time buying, though. So,
what bums me out, John, is that this car comes to our shores. It trades for a retail price on Bring a Trailer. It's on a domestic title now, and at 38,000 or whatever it was kilometers. The part that bothers me is I don't think the new owner is going to he paid a premium price for his car. I don't think he's going to drive it. He's just going to sit in a garage and he's going to hedge or collect or whatever it is that his perspective, his perception is of his money. It bums me out that such a high price was paid that I doubt we'll see somebody spend 300 grand on a rare 964 and then go out and drive it on a professor run. And that's just, F you.
Isn't that always the case though?
Yeah.
I mean, we talk about that all the time, that these beautiful cars that we love
and don't get to see,
and we are into, we drive them. And I guess that's this, or, I mean, there you go, you guys. If you're watching this, let us know in the comments. Do you think that this car was well bought? Is this okay that this car is just going to be sitting there? Are you watching the show? Is part of the reason why you watch the show because you're a driver, or do you watch the show because you're a collector and you're wanting to see, values of cars and find out where to park your money? Normally we don't take a break this early, but I have a technical issue, so it's a live show. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and we'll be back in 15 seconds. Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. Okay, I think we're back. I think it's happening. There we go.
That was cool, man.
That was nice, right?
Was that Anthony there?
Was it. I think Anthony. That was you, right? Spot.
Can we? If he sends us a video of himself, is it okay to tell everybody that's him? I mean, Anthony, I didn't sign an NDA, so if I broke a rule, please forgive me.
That
was him, though, right?
Anthony, that was you, right?
That's so if you send your watch to like it's like having your cup of coffee picked by Juan Valdez. If you send your watch to Idaho to Our Smiths, Anthony works on it himself.
He does.
That's amazing. And he teaches ballroom dancing and saves children. What is he? He's an amazing guy.
He's going to send me some rice and beans, a rice and beans band. I'm sorry, rice and some kind of rice band. I don't know. Okay. Something about rice.
All right.
For my watch. Yes, he says that's him.
That's him. That's
you look
awesome.
Great, Anthony. You guys did a great job in the commercial there. We'll show it again.
He's way more serious doing his job than we are doing ours.
Apparently. All right. What was the next car we talked about on the last episode?
All right. Really good friend of the show. Awesome Porsche enthusiast, dealer principal, Chris Carbine of New Orleans, Louisiana, is selling a car on PCAR Market. Sold a car. Well, there's a spoiler alert. Sold a car this week on PCAR Market. It's the 2005 Porsche 996 GT3. PCAR Market lists it with 9,000 miles, but the car only has 8,200 miles on it. Spectacular car. The consignor that owns this car, I'm not giving away too much, is actually a good personal friend, like a real buddy of Chris Carbine's down there in the great state of Louisiana. And this is his personal car. They tried to sell it earlier in the summer on BAT, where the car made it up to around $136,000. But the photographs they took underneath the car revealed a just ever so damp, barely weeping rear main seal. And so they got lit up in the comments, and the car kind of capped out before it got into the threshold of like 140, 145, 150, which is where they were all hoping it would go. So at 136, the car was a no sale. They took it down. They fixed the rear main seal. While they were in there, they changed the flywheel. They put a new front rubber Porsche lower rear valance on the front of that car, and then reshot the car and brought it back to market on PCAR Market, where it ran. And was a good listing, and there you go. So we covered it, and I thought because they overcame the objection that prevented it from getting to the retail number they wanted it to get to hit the reserve and get to the retail they were looking for on BAT. I thought it would get there with the new batch of photos and all this other stuff. So I jumped in deep, JP. I said 145,000. You came in at 135,996, which is essentially in principle or indeed the same number that it reached on BAT, which is a pretty heady bet, I think. So before we give away the result, do we have again or any of the things coming in, the old bids?
I'm not seeing the numbers yet.
All right,
from
maybe
the herd,
Randy's going to join us at 7:30 right when we wrap up the show.
Yeah.
So anyways, our car sold for $130,000 on 49 bids. So a couple things to unpack here. One, I have not talked to Chris Carbine, so I do not know if PCAR Market called them and asked them to lower or pull the reserve. I would have thought that they would have set the reserve at a little bit higher number. So I'm surprised by that result. In that, I would have thought that they would have tried to get into that old range. So the car reached 130 and it's sold there, which means I think Chris and his consignor made a decision to go ahead and get rid of the car, because I would have thought going back to market and spending the money to fix the things in the first place that they would have been trying to recoup at least some of that money. And then what's the other thing? 49 bids is a lot of action, JP. That there was action on the car. People wanted it, but in my honest opinion, I don't feel like 130 is the retail for that car. Not a car with. Again, this was a car that had a weeping rear main seal due to age, not miles or abuse. You know what I mean? Like, this car is spectacular condition. So when I see 130 and you talk about interest like you do, That to me is not a retail number. And so I'm a little surprised by that. What do you think? What do you think of that result? Like, this one's a little baffling to me. I really thought they would have, either decided to keep the car or go a different route or whatnot. But they took the money and got rid of it. And I totally understand that. But I don't think 130 represents a retail number for that car. I still think this car should be in the 140s. What do you think?
I think Chris got a payoff from Rent a Junk Bus back here in the background. Those guys paid for some advertising. That's awesome. And we're like, yeah, man. I mean, that probably paid the extra 10 grand. Exactly. Grand. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that was
there's
it.
Deeb's 145 right there.
Right there. Yeah. That's the real number.
Yeah.
No, I think, look, the Jubilee car that we were just talking about is such a premium car. And it is such a collectible car that I think that is kind of that's an investment grade car. Let's be honest, right?
Okay.
This particular car sits kind of in both places. It's not really, I mean, this could be considered an investment car, but not as good as something like a super rare colored numbered air-cooled car.
Yeah.
So a GT3 996 variant is always going to be a blue chip car with low miles.
Yeah.
But it's definitely not, it's not top end. This is a car that I suspect there's a lot of people that are looking at a car like this one that are genuinely considering driving it, owning this car, driving it around, put 5,000 miles on it, 10,000 miles on it over a couple of years, and then maybe sell it again and kind of, as a way to hedge your car investment. Because remember, cars usually aren't a good investment. When you buy a car, typically you expect to have that cost you money. It wasn't really until somewhat recently, in the last few years that everybody started getting this idea that, I can buy a car that's a few years old. I can buy this kind of special car and I'll make money on it. Usually if you're going to try to make money on a car, it's a long game. It's a 10, 15 year thing, right? So this car, I think it's a seasonal play. The value at $130, he did really well in PCAR Market. Let's face it, we don't always love PCAR Market, but sometimes they do bring really good money. But I think in December of 2023, getting $130 is pretty damn good for this car. And I don't know if there's a platform that could do better. I don't know if BAT could have done better. I don't know if your Hagerty could have done better. Even if you had a higher reserve, that doesn't necessarily mean it would get that, right?
No, not
so
at all.
I think Chris made the smart play and sold this thing at $130. Get out of the car, move on, and get that money mobile if that's what you're going to do with it.
Well, go ahead. I want to give you a couple facts about the car before we jump to the next one, though.
Well, yeah, because there was some other drama going on with this car. There was, I think, something that's interesting about the actual listing was the fact that Chris admitted there were a bunch of comments, and this is where the community comes in, right? Sometimes the community can be a major pain in the ass, those comments, and sometimes they can be helpful to the buyers. Sometimes they just muddy the waters and screw everything up. I think we had a situation here where someone was, hey, look at me, I know things. They were getting really persnickety about the DME report, and as it turns out, there was a DME report problem, but it wasn't one of these things it wasn't like the seller did something
dishonest.
In bad faith. The seller literally, because they are a dealer, and this happens, right? You're a dealer and you're a small dealer. It's not like a big, huge corporation dealer, but it's a small dealer where you deal with a handful of cars. It's one guy, and
Chris can see his entire inventory standing in one part of the room.
Right, exactly. And so how many DME reports does he have, in his, downloads folder, right?
Yeah.
So he grabs it and uploads it and forgets about it, right? Because who's going to really look? If people are just looking to see overrips. He put the wrong one up.
Yeah.
That's absolutely something I would do. Absolutely.
Or the wrong voiceover.
Right. And so he calls. He's called on it.
Yeah.
And he just fixed it.
Yeah.
And
here's
that's
the
right thing to do.
Right.
Because the guy who was making the comments was kind of trying to be, hey, no, actually, that internet guy. I found that there's a discrepancy in the He's the guy that finds that one bolt that's not. Screw that guy, right? Yeah. But in this particular case, no one pushed it any further. It was an obvious error, and the correct report was put up, and it confirmed everything that the seller said. And I think that's why this car continued on and finished well in a December close, in the bottom of the season. I think this is going to do pretty well. And yeah, I think in spring, this car is $140. I think maybe it's $145. Because I think people are going to be raring to go. The big thing is going to be how much profit, how much profit taking will there be here in the next couple of weeks? Because at some point we always see a big sell off in the stock market, right? Because everybody wants to take those profits, and before the end of the year, or a lot of times people wait and do that at the beginning of the next year. Right. So there is that combination, and usually crypto follows that. So at what point will there be a bunch of extra liquidity in the market? Will it happen before the end of the year, or will it happen at the beginning of the new year? And then will people dump out? Will people freak out on crypto and collect their cash and then start buying some stuff too? There's a lot of things that you got to think about if you're looking at this as an investment. That's why we keep saying, you know what, just buy the car you want. And if the world ends, at least have the car that you want. And the world can burn around you and you can drive fast. And that's rad. And that's the way we think it should be. What do you guys think of the result of this beautiful GT3? Was it well bought? Or was that all the money? Is the market going to crash on these things? Let us know in the comment below. And let's move on to the next car that we talked about on the last episode.
All right. So let's do the next one so we can get to commercial, because it's so hot in the studio. I got to get the sweatshirt off. All right.
I told you, right?
Yeah. Okay. So Sahan picked for us a car that he is madly in love with. Sahan picked a 1987 Mercedes-Benz 560 SEC. Really interesting car, JP, because somebody took this car, just a basic 560 SEC Mercedes, and then added an AMG style wide body kit, put some authentic AMG 18-inch wheels on it. The body kit, the wheels, and then upgraded the suspension, re-leathered the door cards, and got these sick powered Recaros. Somebody was saying, I think even Sahan was saying, that he thinks that the Recaros look period correct. I actually think they made powered Recaros for really upmarket car in period. So they might be those, or they might be brand new ones that they're still making to look like that era. But anyways, a lot of cool goodies on this car. Now, the car has some miles on it. It's 81,000 miles. It's out of LA. It's on BAT. And underneath this car is just a 560 SEC that does not go faster than or slower than this car. You know what I mean? Like it's just that an 80,000 mile 560 SEC. That's not even a $20,000 car. But then you add, some really cool parts, do the work, put it on there, take some nice pictures of the sunset at the beach in LA, and put it on BAT. What's the car going to be worth? John, when we were looking at the car, it was already over 50 grand, and I told you I was choking on that number. I want to say it was like 54,000, and I was like 54 grand would have been higher than my actual bid if the car was at 30 when we looked at it. You know what I'm saying? So I just reading the tea leaves at like 54 grand, I thought, all right, well, this car is going to close in a day or two. It's certainly going to put at least another, 10%, 15% on. So I went to 65 grand. It's actually like 20% of where it was. You took the under on me at $63,560. Do you have any bids coming in? Do we have any bids coming in?
Buddha says that a clean SC is closer to $30,000,
but not with 80,000 miles.
Yeah, Anthony says the Chris was the closest at 72.5.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I just don't.
Buddha's right, but there's a lot of 560 SECs that like some little lady or some old golf club guy bought and left in his garage in Palm Beach or Beverly Hills that have 35,000 miles on it, and yeah, that's a 35,000. I'll tell you what, that'll be worth 50,000 if it's got like 2,500 miles on it or whatever. But this is an 81,000 mile with mods that didn't come from AMG. It's supposed to evoke a certain style of car. So at 65, I was not confident in my bid. Well, for the wrong reasons. The car went way over that. Spoiler alert, the car sold for $90,560 John, you missed a Yahtzee by $27,000. You were so close.
Yeah, boy.
You got the 560 right. That's like it's like getting the last three numbers right on a safe combination, and telling everybody you're a good thief most days. 49 bids. The action was there. The bids are insane. John, I'm telling you right now. You set of 18-inch wheels, a U set of Recaros, and a cheap-ass plastic aftermarket non-AMG body kit. I'm telling you, you could build this car for less than 90 grand and make money in it. Sahan and I are planning to buy 6 560 SECs. Are you in? Right,
No.
Sahan? Am I lying? Sahan wants to make one himself, you know?
Yeah, I mean, Sahan said that a real one sold for 870 grand or something like that. You just don't
That'd
see
be an autographed car. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's when they were coach built. Mercedes didn't own them at the time, so that I understand. But this is a fake, and the parts don't add up. It doesn't have the motor either.
To me, it just feels like a slant nose 911. I mean, it's just like it has, and we talked about it before, on the last episode that because it's worse than an RWB.
Yeah.
I mean, an RWB adds all this stupid crap to it. I guess this car does lose a little bit of weight. Buddha was saying that these are fiberglass fenders or something like that. But I mean, it's still going to be a slow ass pig of a car.
Totally.
And probably not going to hold up very well. I guess the LA scene kind of likes this. Maybe this is a response to 911 overload. Is this RWB is played? Is this
Youngtimers?
Is this a Youngtimers
Yes,
thing? Is
totally.
this just straight up, we are done with backdates. We're done with slants. We're done with all these crazy Porsches. It's like, you were eating a bag of Cheetos. My favorite, Chester Cheetah commercial is when, Chester's in the back there and yes, we know. And I don't even know what he's responding to, but it's kind of like the young guys are going, yeah, we know you have a 911. We don't care.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to go buy this cheap thing and make it look like $1 million car and roll it and be flossy and wear Supreme stuff. And I don't know. I don't get it. The number, just $90,000 seems like there's a lot of better. I mean, yeah, usually when you see a car that looks something like this, right? And you say, okay, it may be expensive, but it would cost so much to make something like that maybe you are better off buying it. No, this is definitely the case where you go buy a $15,000 one of these, spend the 30 grand or 50 grand or whatever, and you're still way ahead.
Yeah, you could afford to do an LS swap, which is what Sahan wants to do, of course, because Sahan hates slow.
Yeah.
So Sahan wants this car with an LS in it, and I totally get that. But I think, why would you pay $90 for this? And don't get me wrong, the attention to detail is great, the stance is outstanding, the photos are good, but I mean, at least sexy. They might not be good photos, but I think you could make this car and have more fun with it, and that's I think what Sahan is looking at. So cool car, but the number doesn't make any sense. 90,560 on 49 bids. That is the head scratcher of the week, and we happen to cover it thanks to Sahan. Thank you for putting that car up there for us to just lose our ish. Good
job, Sahan. All right, we'll be right back with brand new predictions in about 30 seconds. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden. This guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. If you don't subscribe to Bid Nerds on YouTube right now, I'm gonna shoot this 997. If you said, wait, that's a 996, you're a nerd. So subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Bid Nerds.
Get those nerds!
Subscribe to the new YouTube channel, Bid Nerds. Okay, maybe we're not that new, but we're at it and we're having a good time.
Remind everybody, John, that they need, even if you're watching this live or whatever, like every single episode that you watch. If you're just clicking and opening any episode, just hit like before you jump off to the next one. Help us crack the code and attract, get into that algorithm and attract more viewers and engagers on YouTube. And then jump onto any of the auction sites when you're browsing on your own and you think you want to comment. Please, by all means, mention the Bid Nerds as you're doing your thing on all the auction sites, and help spread the word and grow the herd. Thank you.
That is a good plug. All right, we have brand new predictions. This is where things get interesting, man. You got some interesting cars picked. What's the first one on the list?
Hey, what's the matter for you, John? You know, like a Ferrari? John called me over the weekend as we were like unloading boxes and trying to get ready to get out here to Vegas. Looked like you had the car buying itch, if I may say that. I thought for sure you were going to tell me you bid on something because you sent me a couple of cars. But you did look at a single Ferrari, which I thought was pretty cool. But it was a 348. I selected a car that might be better for you. It's on Cars and Bids, and it's a 1989 Ferrari Mondial T Cabriolet. So the T is the car that has the transverse motor. The motor kind of goes, they call it transverse, which is really weird. I think they're talking about the gearbox. But the motor winds up going long ways, which is unlike all the mid-engine cars that came before it. It is the 348 drivetrain, John, which you know, but that's the 300 horsepower Mondial. That's the Mondial that would actually surprise a lot of people and is fun to drive. Our car is basic bitch Rosso Corsa with beige interior, but it doesn't stop there. This car only has 33,000 miles. It's in Altamont, New York, on a clean title. And it's just a really nice, no-nonsense car. Now, somebody's getting off this car in the dead of winter, and they put it on Cars and Bids. And so I was thinking maybe, just maybe, a deal could be struck on this particular car. And so I thought it would be fun to take a look at it and compare this to sort of the numbers we were kicking around about that slightly higher mile 348. 348s are worth more in the secondary market than Mondials. So instead of going for a high mile 348, which you were looking at, I thought I could tempt you with a low mile Mondial T, which has the same damn drivetrain. So JP, we know a lot of the particulars of this car. This one looks clean, looks no nonsense. What do you think?
No Ferraris in my future. That is not happening.
Oh no.
I love seeing them. I do love a 348, but God, I just, I'm not made of money. I'm just not that guy. I wish I had the budget. If I had a gajillion dollars, I would definitely have a garage full of stuff like this. I wouldn't be buying the brand new Ferrari. I would definitely be buying Mondials and 348s. I would just have more of them. And I, loved in that fantasy world to have the money to pay someone to be fixing them all the time. So for me, that's one of the reasons why I'm such a big Porsche guy, is because Porsches can hold up. You can buy some crazy stuff and have a good time and not have it also kill you on the maintenance thing. So don't worry, Anthony, not getting a 348, not getting a Mondale, have my eye on something. But this car, if I were going to get a Mondale, this would definitely be the one I would be getting. This thing looks the business. It's all weird science all the time, and that's what you need. So yeah, I want this car, but I'm not going to do it. What do you think it's worth?
So it's interesting. The Mondial is such an interesting car because this was the car, in the late 60s, Fiat bought that first portion of Ferrari and started that whole Ford Ferrari war because Ford thought they were going to buy Ferrari. But Fiat bought it. And then, several years later, Fiat wound up giving Ferrari the rest of the money for the company. And so even though I think the old man died like right when this car was made, I think the old man died in 88, maybe going into 89. I can't remember exactly when he passed away. But when the Mondial came out in like 81, this was the first car that sort of Fiat dictated that Ferrari build. This is not a car that Enzo would have built of his own volition, but Fiat wanted a car that was like a 2+2 that would go after sort of that Mercedes and Porsche market as a sports car with a lower insurance rate because it's got back seats, so it's considered more of a family coupe and not a sports car. There's a lot of interesting stuff that kind of goes on behind the scenes. The other thing about this era of Ferraris, John, is a lot of times the value is dictated by the most recent belt service. The belt service can be anywhere from $7,000-8,000 on up to $15,000, depending on the shop and the mechanic's reputation. The belts on this car were done in 2021 as part of a greater expanded major service. I can't remember the last time we've covered a belt-driven Ferrari that didn't need belts. How many times have you and I covered a car this year that was red, and we said, don't drive it off the truck, we'll push it, I'll meet you at the car, but this one has good belts. This is literally a turnkey drive. It's low miles, and it's the right resale color. That being said, it is still the dead of winter. The car's in upstate New York. Like I do think that's going to prevent it from getting to a crazy number. John, our car closes tomorrow and it's sitting at $35,000 on 14 bids. We say this time and time again about cars and bids. What you see is close to what you're going to get. Do not expect a flourish. So I don't think this car is going to get up to 45,000. But I do. Oh man, God, it's so hard to be bearish, bullish. I'm going to go 39 grand, John, and I'm just making this up as we go because I could do that. 39,000. I don't think it'll get to 40 grand despite the belts and the low miles and the sort of resale color. I just think it's a convertible. It's another Ferrari. The market is soft and it's the dead of winter and Christmas is here. My God, most men that are looking at this are talking about the presents they still need to get for their kids and their grandkids. So I'm gonna say it doesn't reach 40 on cars and bids, and maybe with better photos and maybe with better marketing on BAT, this car could have broken 40. That'll be my stance when we review it in a few days. But I send it to you at 39,000. You with me or are you against me?
Do you think it'll sell at 39,000?
Yeah.
You think it actually gets sold? Okay.
Yeah.
So here's the big question.
He's getting off a serviced Ferrari in the dead of winter. He wants this car to go away. It's going to sell.
Yeah. Okay. So, all right. So let's say I am interested in this car. Let's say I am going to stroke a check.
Yeah.
It's in New York.
$3 grand.
I'm in Las Vegas.
$3 grand. And that's if you're lucky.
What? $3 grand what?
Enclosed.
That's not what I'm. You're anticipating questions. That's a wrong question.
I thought it was a game show.
Why don't you let me finish? Why don't you let me get my point across?
3 years I've never let you finish.
You're just trying to cut me off. No,
I'm like a hooker with an hourglass. Let's go.
I actually, if I'm honest, I am. Which I mean, come on, I am to a fault, right? If I'm honest here, I am shocked that you think that was going to be my question. It's like when you type in, like on Google. You know, you type like
POR
black things that, and then it comes off with just like the most racist thing. You're like, no, I was looking for
chocolate chips.
Yeah, exactly. No, do you know me? Have we met? I feel like, hold on, since you're in the studio, this is important. No, stay there.
Oh, okay. I thought you.
Just like, look, hi, I'm JP. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, what does JP stand for?
Maybe you should know a thing or two about me. Michael Deeb clearly doesn't know me at all. My question that you should know is, would you drive this from New York to Las Vegas right now in this weather? And will you go with me if I do?
I would go with you for sure. I just have to make sure we had some antifreeze, which is vodka, in case we got stranded in the middle of the road.
Right. Would your wife let you take that trip? That's the real question.
Yes, she would. With you, yeah. Not a lot of other friends, but with you, yeah. Because you're resourceful. Remember that time we should have broken down in the middle of Zizix?
Yes.
Yeah. And
rolled around with scorpions.
Thank God you had a knife, and we cut the AC belt and got back on the road. So she would let me take that with you. Not a lot of friends I could say that about, but you for sure. We're bringing this thing, however it opens.
Let's don't be careful with that thing. These things are fucking sharp, and I've already cut myself with one of them.
You started with if I were to stroke a check for this, so I thought for sure we were going to ship it, but yeah, I forgot JP convertible. Here's the thing, John, is we'd have to count how many states we would go through, and then the guessing game for the herd would be how many states would the top actually ever be put up.
That's true. I mean, look, we'd have to go south.
It would have to be a snow flurry to force us to put the top up. Right.
We would go. I would go straight down to Tennessee. Maybe go see our friend C-Stan Charlie or something like that.
Where's the tail of the dragon? Is that Tennessee?
That's Tennessee.
Oh,
yeah. Take some roads with him.
All right. Cool.
Do we go all the way to Narlands and hang out with Chris for a little bit?
I think we have to.
This is road trip. Maybe we do buy this thing.
We're getting stickers and splattering the passenger side of this car.
Yeah,
stickers
I don't know if
like luggage. Remember, luggage used to get all the stickers from wherever it went.
I got a stack of these for Anthony for our Smiths. He wants them there. I don't know if we're going to make it all the way up to Idaho. Too much snow up there.
Yeah, out of the way. Sorry.
But look, I do think maybe a trip to New Orleans would be in order. Oof. And then maybe stop in Austin or whatever and be on Joe Rogan or something like that. He's invited us to the show a couple times. We've always passed on it because we're too busy with our show. That never happened. But Yeah. Okay. So your number was 30. Was 39
under 40
under
on
40.
this platform.
I think it's going to break 40. I think
Do
it'll
you?
break 40. Yeah.
Oh,
I think it'll get 41.
When you're more optimistic than I am, the world is in trouble.
I mean, it's the big engine one, right? This is
It
the
is.
right one that everybody
Yeah.
wants, and it just had the service. So
Yep.
yeah, I think somebody picks this thing up.
There's
My
four-
big question is, does it sell? I think this is.
There's 4 generations of the Mondial, but only 3 of them were cabriolet. There's nerd knowledge for you.
Yeah.
So give me your final number. Is it 40 or 41?
I said 41. I
41.
got to stick with the number there. There it is. The numbers are coming in. Anthony's laughing at me. He does not like the Mondial.
Mondial.
Mondial. It's like come
Moondial.
on.
It's a phase, right? A moondial?
Dude,
Anthony, help me out. What do they call that, right? Moon phase?
The moon phase watch,
Yeah, yeah.
There's
Fake
Randy. Where were
chronographs?
you at? What was your number? Hans came in at 41. David Van, he says. So look, Steve Martin, Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. He's rocking a Mondial
Yeah.
in Monaco.
That's right. That's
How
hot.
how is that not cool? That's about as
yeah.
cool as it gets.
No
even
snow in
though-
Monaco very
Yeah,
often.
let's go
Yeah.
there. I think.
Can we drive to Monaco? Is it frozen all the way to Greenland and over to I don't know, Norway or something? Or no, Finland, right? What would you come down? What's the highest point in Europe? Is it Finland?
Anthony says, JP, it's the Mondial that like 10 people want. I guess.
Yeah, they're all
Make it
watching the
9
show.
others, I guess.
They're all watching the show tonight.
Oh man!
So what are the numbers? Give us some numbers that they're throwing.
No one's throwing numbers out there. The only
What
person
is
that's
wrong?
willing to put their name next to this one is Hans. He's at 41. Randy went to 44. Okay, he's above. He's like that. Sergeant Tom, he's saying stop in North Georgia. Drive the little tail of the Dragon. He runs his Porsche 911 on it quite often. Are you? Is this an offer, my bro, my guy? Are we meeting Sergeant Tom in North Georgia? This is
JP,
shaping
I
up
want
to be a good
I want to
sprint to Christmas.
contest the little tail of the dragon. Did you not show me the cusp of the little tail of the dragon when we came out of Yosemite the other day? What was that called?
I didn't know that was called the little. I thought
Remember-
all the tails of the dragon were in.
Well,
like,
the
on
tail
East
of the
Coast.
dragon is Tennessee or whatever. And then when we came out of Yosemite and I was riding shotgun with you in the 964 because my car didn't
Somebody's
make
car
it.
didn't
Yeah,
make it.
my car took a shit. Didn't we say that there was that little? If we stopped at that gas station at that Chevron, and then there was that we were going to keep going west to get into Monterey, but if you had turned right. They said it was sort of the West Coast version of the little tail of the dragon. Do you not remember that?
I vaguely
Who was
remember
talking
that.
about
I
that?
don't know, but it was probably.
Oh, it was who's the guy, the pilot that was with us?
Patrick. Yeah,
Patrick.
Yeah,
Patrick
yeah,
was telling,
okay.
Patrick must have been the one telling us about that. He seems like something he would know. By the way, I haven't seen him or talked to him since then. Man,
I think his
like
daughter
that guy.
got married. Sergeant Tom,
Ah.
he's given the invite, man.
Let's go.
Anthony thinks this thing, even though he's ishing all over it, said 46 and a half. So
If you're watching the show and you think John Polnik should bid on this car, will you say that in the comments, please? We got to get Polnik off his wallet. Hashtag Polnik off his wallet.
and fly to New York
And fly to yeah.
in December.
Yeah, maybe Our
With my
Smith,
bid
maybe
nerd
Our Smith
partner.
can sponsor the trip, and then we'll keep
drive across the
timing
country.
all the different time zones for Our Smith to help them sync all their customers' watches. Come on, man, work with me. This is a really good idea.
Oh man, this just sounds like just an
It's
epic
gonna happen.
disaster.
It's gonna happen.
I love it.
I'm
All
looking
right.
I'm looking closer at these photos, JP. We need new tires. Those things, they look like they've aged out. I don't think they make TA radials anymore.
Vettersteins. Getting
Vettersteins.
tires for something like that are probably it's probably difficult, right? That's a
No,
weird
there's-
size wheel.
no, they're not metrics. Not
Okay.
by 89. The metrics were done.
All right. Okay, guys, let's move on from this fantasy junction and go. I hate it when a car is something that I might actually bid on. It's not going to happen.
It's less
Not
money.
gonna happen.
It's less. They're going to retail this car for less money than that bastardized 348 that you were looking at. That would have been
that's
a
for sure. Yeah,
fun car to drive.
I would actually, if I were. You guys out in the audience that know the Ferrari was there was a 348. What was that? Probably a 91 or something like that. It was in really nice condition, but it had 70,000 miles on it.
Yeah.
And I thought that one was going to go for 40 something or
what
whatever.
were
But it
the-
wound up going for 70. It was crazy.
That's unbelievable. What
Yeah.
were the wheels that were on there? They were not. They're forged, but they're like.
Weren't they 360 wheels or something like that from a Modena? Or
No, they
I
had
don't
a brand of wheel. Anyway, whatever.
cares?
Moving on.
Moving on, yeah.
All right, we got a portion.
We
now.
got cars to talk about. Let's. What else we got on the list?
All right,
Let's,
JP, a
we're a little behind.
1990. Take a look at this 1990 Porsche 944. Excuse me. The beer's coming back. 944.
You need another one?
Yeah, probably. S2 with a 5-speed manual. Our car is out of Rolling Hills Estates, California, which I'm sure is somewhere in the suburbs of LA. 83,000 miles on the S2. John, I'll just present it, but then you can sort of tell us the ins and outs because you know 944s, I swear, about as well as anybody. These are the 3-liter and I think 16-valve motors, right? Which, although having a little more performance that is arguably on par with the early turbos, although normally aspirated, these later normally aspirated 944s are not mechanically as reliable as some of the earlier, less powerful cars. Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement.
All right, so I'm teeing that up for you to talk about when it comes over to you. I do love these wheels. The 16-inch Design 90 wheels are really beautiful cars. I believe these wheels are forged and were on the original Cup cars, I think. Although I think maybe the original Cup cars had foam dials, but the later Cup cars had these. So really cool car. Beautiful color for those that aren't watching the show. They call it Zyclam red pearl paint. This is interesting because it's a little bit like my Rubino Rot and a little bit like that Viola 964. Like if you took those two paints and mixed them together, would you not agree that you'd come out with a color that looks similar to this? This is like a deeper candy apple red. It's certainly a little more, like there's a little more vanity to it than typical of a Porsche from that era. The interior is also really interesting. It's got the black dash and the black steering wheel, but the carpets and the seats on the door cars are that really light, almost white color.
Is that called bisque?
No, well, they don't say the name of the color here. This car, JP, just to tease a little bit ahead, was on Bring a Trailer where it sold for $19,000 in February of 20. So this is right before the world shut down when the market was unbelievably soft. This car brought just $19,000 out of Oxnard, California with the same 81,000 miles. So here we are essentially 4 years later, 3.5 years later at best. And this car still showing 81,000 miles, roughly. But it comes back to market, and the market was hot, and they missed their opportunity to sell it, and now the market is softening again. But would you agree it's not as soft as it was back in 20, or would you say inflation sort of covers that bet? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, in real dollars, it's probably softer.
Wow.
But adjusted, that in real dollars means adjusted for inflation. But certainly raw numbers, no, the prices have not gone back down to that number and probably won't because of inflation.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, that's the presentation, JP. I send to you an unusual colorway. This is a rare shade. I mean, John, how many cars do you recall seeing and being conscious of the fact that they were Zyclam red? I mean, this is a color I'm sure we've both seen, but definitely an uncommon color. And S2s, fun to drive, but maybe not the car you would recommend a friend own. Is that?
No, when I say they're less reliable than, call it a turbo, I don't know if I can really say that they're less reliable than a turbo because the turbos are definitely problematic as well. They don't really have a big Achilles heel. They tend to have top end leaks, head gasket problems, valve grinds. Like I had one way back in the day, and I remember going to change the spark plugs on my own. Let's see if I can get a picture of here's the engine, right? There's that dual cam head, and you've got these spark plugs that go into the head. Those go way down, right? Because you got the heads that go longitudinal there, and then you've got the 4 plugs. When these plugs don't really on the top here, it's another 7 or 8 inches till they actually get to the spark plugs way down inside that head, right?
Classic. That's what she said.
Yeah, exactly. More like 5 or 6. When you pull that out, I remember I pulled one of those out and oil went everywhere. They were full of oil. Oil leak. These things are prone to oil leaks and especially valve cover leaks and stuff like that. So oil gets into everything. So if this is definitely a car like not unlike an air-cooled 911 that you definitely want a PPI on because if you don't get this thing looked at ahead of time, there's a lot of stuff that you just can't see. You can't see that those things are full of oil until you pull them out.
The PPI is a pre-purchase inspection, which is on your dollar. but the results are shared with you and not the seller. So it's to help you make an informed decision, and solid advice by my partner.
I was probably the biggest a-hole. Like, I've always been an asshole. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Everybody knows that.
I was like, what day specifically are we talking about?
But I was in my early 20s, and I was dating some girl, and I wrecked my mountain bike. I still have the scars. My elbow's full of metal in here. Sometimes it sets off metal detectors and stuff. I wiped out, busted both elbows, this girl I was dating, she let me sleep on her couch for like a month and nursed me back to health. As soon as I was able to get up and move my arms around and wipe my rear end without any assistance, I was like, I think it's time we break up. And I got my 944 S2 and drove away with my cast. I had a full cast on one arm and a half cast on the other. And I'm trying to drive this 944. Thank God it had power steering.
Let me recap. So you busted up on your mountain bike. She nursed you back to health. You slept with her sister and drove off in your Porsche. Is that the story?
Sans the sister part, I was a real asshole. Sorry about that. Sorry about that, girl not to be named. All right. Enough about my history. What do we think this thing's gonna sell for? If I bought one of these, I think that's probably some bad juju. That's why I should probably never get an S2 again.
So interesting here, JP. S2s are such a weird model for the 944. 944s in general, I feel like, my opinion is that 944s are the type of car that are completely soft in this market right now. And I feel like this would be a terrible place to put your money if you're thinking you're parking your money while you own this car. I feel like you buy one of these because it's a passion thing. You just want one, and sort of investment value be damned. I'm buying the one I've been searching for, and I'd love to have a unusual color S2 because I want to avoid turbos, and I'll live with the best normally aspirated 944 you could have out there. This car sold for $19,000 on the same mileage 3.5 years ago. I feel like it's its own best comp, and that's a poor showing for the car. But the market is down. JP, here's the deal. Car closes in 2 days, and it's only at $7,850. If we're optimistic and figure that's going to double, you're looking at, if you're reading tea leaves and guesstimating, you're looking at a $15,000 finish. Surely this car's got to bring 20 grand, right? The value of this car, according to the Hagerty Market Guide, is that they're saying that this car at a value 3 should be a $30,000 car. This car ain't bringing 30 grand. There's no effing way, not with 80,000 miles on it. So I'm going to reluctantly give you $22,000 and tell you that I am pulling that out of the part of my body I'm sitting on. You know what I'm saying?
The part that if you had two broken arms, you'd have a difficult time taking care of. I get that. Look, I'm going to go. What'd you say, 21?
22.
22, what?
22.
22 grand. Yeah, I'll go. God damn it, that's tough because I was going to go 22,944. So I guess I'll just go 22,944.
Right.
I think it will break 20.
Yeah.
I think that color will get somebody going. I don't think 80,000 miles is crazy for one of these. I don't like finding one of these under.
When you talk about those heads leaking, is that at a certain mileage? Is it for
cars
that
between
sit or cars
80
that are
and 120,000 miles?
So,
but it looks like this one's had some service and it's been paid attention to. It doesn't look like it hasn't had.
It's clean.
Yeah.
It looks nicer in these photos than in the photos he bought it in. I'll give him that. How about that?
And it's talking about how it had the power steering pump and I think it had the belts done and stuff like that. So as long as those things have been done, this is a great car. That's about the same as what it went for at 19 or whatever. Again, if you say inflation, that's flat money, inflation. Right? A few years later. So, and look, 911s, the sky is not falling on enthusiast cars. It's just the time of year, and it's a little so I don't know. I think it'll do okay. We got some feedback audio there, Michael Deeb. What's going on?
I just want to see how many people are watching. We got like 23 watchers.
Yeah, everybody's coming. I think everybody figured out that we started early.
Yeah, that's a high watch count for us.
For reals, shout out to the Nerd Herd guys. We have everybody joining us. If you guys came in a little late today, we started a little early, and we're going to start early from here on out. Sunday nights and Wednesday nights, we want to start ideally at 6:30, but you know how we are, we're closer to 7 o'clock, which is about what this was. Yeah. So if you're just joining, this right now we're joining about, if you're just joining us, this is about when we get started. So we have pretty much the whole crew here. Ross is hanging out from,
hey, Ross.
New Zealand, of course. Buddha is hanging out. Of course, Anthony from, we got the whole Idaho contingent. Randy's here. Chris Bonelli. You guys are just awesome. Thank you.
We owe Randy an apology because we didn't tell him we were covering the cars an hour earlier, so we didn't get Randy's number up for the live audience to see. Randy, apologies. John promised he was going to call you, so that's on him.
It was my fault. Totally. David Van's hanging out. We got Bob Coons. Who else is hanging out in here? I'm just kind of scrolling through. Of course, Sergeant Tom.
Hans was on.
I like Sergeant Tom, man. I just like saying Sergeant Tom, man. That sounds cool. Jim Bagley.
I thought it was Major Tom. Isn't he like floating around in space? Is he like? Did Major Tom come back?
This is a much better Tom. This is, you need a higher class of Tom there.
Sorry.
Hans. I don't know if I'm missing one of you guys. I'm sorry, but we're having a great time. Vampire beer. Vampire bear. Sorry, 13.
Best handle.
Best handle on the show.
Best handle on the herd.
Oh my gosh, we're having fun. Thanks for making the comments, guys. That definitely makes it more fun to do the show. We love interacting with you. I wish we did a better job on it today because
no Gary.
Yeah, no Gary here.
Thanks, Gary.
And
hope your Miata breaks down.
No, I'm just kidding. I would never hope that.
Yeah. Miata won't break down anyway.
Won't ever break down,
MR2 maybe, but
there's an MR2, a Mark III MR2 locally here in Vegas with I want to say 9,000 miles on it, a one owner for $13,000. I'm buying this just to rub it in all your guys' face. I'm going to be like, hi.
Don't you need that money for your new Ferrari, you jackass.
For repairs on my new Ferrari. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to the next car. What else?
Switcher Gary, come home safe. Please disregard that stupid Miata comment I made. All right, here we go. So. JP, I picked this car for you. You love crown shoes. Have you owned one of these?
No, I don't like crown shoes. Where do these things come from?
Because I just made it up.
Do we know each other?
No, not at all.
Jeez Louise.
I picked for you this 1999 BMW M Coupe, a.k.a. the clown shoe. This car, what can I tell you about this car? This is why I picked this car, JP. The car has 104,000 miles. So this is a 1999 BMW S52. This is the earlier 240 horsepower non-individual throttle body cars. So the S52s, if I understand correctly, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, although S54s make more horsepower because of the ITBs, and you go from 240 up to 300 horsepower, the S52s are considered just as robust because they make the same exact torque as the ITB cars, but these cars in the long run are considered way more reliable. And while we have seen a spike in M Coupes and E46s that regularly use the S54, the clown shoe car, or this generation of the BMW cars, they sort of marry the E36 motors with what eventually in our country became the E46 motors. This one generation of car, since these are reliable and these cars have been hot in the secondary market, would a high mileage S52 equipped M Coupe represent a tremendous value? It took me way longer to explain it than what it went through in my mind. And I was like, yeah, we'll do this car. Anyways, my brain works faster than my mouth, which is probably true for most of us. So JP, I picked this car. Estral blue is I always love this color. I know you are not a big fan of the brighter blues. I am. I don't know why. It's just kind of a silly thing, but I've owned a few cars that you would have deemed obnoxious had we been friends when I owned them. You probably would have been like, I don't know that guy.
As if we're friends now.
Yeah. But anyways, right. What I don't like about this car, JP, is the two-tone interior. Make mine all black or I will pass. But this seemed like the type of car that you and Mental always pound the table for. Like, if it's a reliable drivetrain, like you're really not gonna incur major potential problems with the drivetrain of your car, go ahead and give me 6-figure miles and let me buy my car for 40 cents on the retail dollar for the model. And so I thought this would be a fun car to look at with that filter in your crawl space. So with that in mind, JP, our car is on Bring a Trailer. It has 104,000 miles out of Wall Township, New Jersey. Again, we have talked about that it's winter in New Jersey. I don't know if there's snow on the ground, but we could make a phone call if that is relevant to your bid. And then, we know these cars are cool. I suppose reading the Carfax would help. There's an accident, no surprise. Most of the people that drove these cars are jackasses. Anyways, there's a second set of wheels. I don't think that adds any value. I think this fool should have sold the wheels himself on one of the multitude of BMW chat groups. But again, the shooting brake of the clown shoe doesn't bother me. I love the short wheelbase, and I would probably be the fool that would pay the retail dollar for the S54. But I think if I listened to my friends, I would wind up with an S52, save a few bucks, and have a more reliable car that, let's face it, if we're driving it, we could keep up with anybody in an S54 because we like to have fun. So I send this to you with that in mind. Is this one of those cars that would fall into the thing that would show up on your radar? Not because it's a clown shoe, since that's maybe not the car you actually like, but that idea that there's a value here with a potentially reliable drivetrain and the high miles, which you don't need to be scared of. Would that car fit in that mold? And did I guess correctly?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I kid. I do actually kind of like these. It's not really something high on my list. I would absolutely buy one if
black metallic for you would be so sick.
Yeah, and I don't even hate the Storal. They make, what's that crazy green yellow color they make? Phoenix yellow or something like that. Looks pretty dope on these. I mean, this is definitely one of those cars that can wear crazy colors well. This particular car is a little sus to me. Look at the panel gaps on the front. I'm not loving that. That whole hood is like a big old bonnet, and it opens up in reverse or whatever.
Clamshell,
kind of clamshell thing. So sometimes that's kind of an issue with these. But look, the great thing about these cars with the S52, yes, the S54 is definitely the better engine to get, but it's going to cost a hell of a lot more. These cars are. Gosh, driving one of these is not unlike driving like a 993 or a 964. It has kind of that same power. When you get behind the wheel, you go out there, you got to wind it up. It doesn't have that grunt like you would kind of want, but it has enough, and it is the straight six, so it has more torque than a 911 typically. But the engine is far enough back. Mental would be sitting here in this very chair saying, it's a mid-engine, and we know that it's not a mid-engine. Mental, relax. I know you're not even here, and I'm telling you, relax. But
he's listening, and he's still mad about the Miata comment.
Exactly.
He's like, I am going to make it home safely. Gosh darn it.
Yeah, I mean,
does Mental swear? I don't think he does.
I don't know.
I think he can, but I don't think
he's in the Air Force. I'm sure he does.
Yeah,
come on, man.
I know.
But yeah, these are just spectacular driver cars, and the kind of miles that are on this one means drive it to the end of the time. It is not uncommon to see these with over 200,000 miles out there. I've seen a million of them with that kind of miles. So this one's just getting warmed up. Yeah, you get the Vanos and some other stuff that you got to deal with, but it's not like a 996 where you got to worry about the whole thing exploding because of IMS or something. I think these represent a really good value. But the weird thing is about these is that, man, in the coupe, like you could get the convertible, the Roadster version of this car for $15,000.
Yeah, you might be able to get this car for $15,000.
Well, maybe because of some of the issues, but it's not uncommon for these to go in the 30s, or better.
Right.
Pampered
ones.
It's not uncommon to see, like with 911s, of course, coupes tend to bring about 40% more than a cab. Sometimes 50, but with these, you're talking about 100%, sometimes 200% more. That's crazy. So I don't know. What do we think this one's going to bring? We're getting a lot of traffic on. The nerds are liking this one.
Okay, well, so JP, you noticing the panel gaps, and then we scroll down and find out that there was an accident in 2002. There was an accident reported with another motor vehicle, damage to the front. Disabling damage reported because the vehicle had to be towed. And if you think the gaps are off, then this car was bent. So here's the thing. With 80,000 miles in fair condition, which is condition 4 on Hagerty, this would have been a $20,000 car. But I think with the bags blown, you can almost take 30% off that number for a bad fax. Take $7,000 off of that. You're right around $15,000. Here's the tea leaves, JP. Our car closes in 3 days. Again, it's in New Jersey, and it's only at $9,000. So I think you said $15,000. I'm stealing your number, even though it's not a Roadster. I think you can have this car for $15,000 if you want it. Come and get yours. It's sitting there right now. BAT is your M Coupe Superstore. $15,000 in 3 days.
Wow, What's your number? Say that one more time.
$15,000.
$15,000. We're not talking about a salvage title car. We're talking about a car that has an accident.
Yeah.
And it is surprising, honestly, that it didn't blow the airbags.
104,000 miles, and it had to be towed.
Yeah, and that didn't blowing the airbags and it didn't salvage the title. That's
it doesn't say airbags. Damage to the front, disabling damage reported, vehicle towed. So I think number 2 is backed up by number 3. You know what I mean?
This is still a $20,000 car.
You think?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'll go. I'll just go straight up $20,000.
Right.
Because right now it's at $9,000. It's gonna double easily in the next couple of days.
Not a Porsche.
Yeah, I know, but it's just about anything on BAT tends to double. On the last day or whatever, but I don't know. Yeah, I think that at $20,000, if this car isn't too bent, you're gonna have a good time. That's a lot of bang for the buck. There's no way $15,000. There's no way.
There's a rear wing on this car. Did you see that thing hanging off the back?
My favorite thing.
Second set of wheels. This car just screams youthfully owned and beaten to within an inch of its life. There's a strut tower brace on there, and there was damage to the front.
You can't even get an E36 for $20,000 anymore.
E36 is a better investment.
I don't know about that one. What do you guys think? That's interesting. Do you guys think an E36 would be better money? I don't know, man. All the nerds do not agree with you.
That's fine. I've been right over the herd before. I think once. Remember back in May?
I don't know. Everyone's coming in at like. Oh man, we got new nerd herd. The herd is growing out here. Daniel Mandel's hanging out. Tom Amenta. I'm sorry if I'm butchering your guys' names, but welcome to the chat and welcome to the show. David's at 22. David says $18,000, so tops. He's with you.
He's not with you. He's closer to your number than he is to mine. He's with you.
Yeah, but I'm saying $20,000 just to cover the spread. I think it's going to be higher.
This car should listen. If this car didn't have the accident or didn't have to be
it'd be
towed,
$35,000.
No, this car would get the $21,000. That's what it should be worth with 105,000 miles and mods. That's what this car should bring.
Man,
I don't think it's going to get
200,000 mile ones get $20,000, bro. Sahan, Sahan.
Oh yeah,
jump in here,
right?
buddy.
No,
he
didn't have the M though. He had the regular 6-cylinder.
No,
right?
he had both. He started out with a regular one, and then he had a Spearmint Rhino car, so the Spearmint Green.
Rhino.
Yeah, Sahan's in at 21,336. So
all right, Sahan, buy it and see if the car. Sahan, buy it. And when you drive it to Vegas, let go of the steering wheel and see if it stays straight on the freeway. Because I'll tell you right now, that sucker is going to put you in the ditch to the right immediately.
All right, let's get to the next car. The last car on the list.
Last car on the list, JP. Give me a second to pull this thing up. Let's not leave PCAR Market out. We can pick on them. Come on. Mm-hmm. Here we go. PCAR Market has a 2012 Porsche 911 997.2 Carrera GTS Coupe. And again, there was sort of a trend here. I don't know if you noticed. The last 3 cars we picked were all high mileage cars. Our car is in Half Moon Bay, California, so I could drive it home for you, JP. 97,000 miles on the odometer, but it is the PDK. It's not the manual transmission. However, it's a .2 GTS coupe, and it's 2-wheel drive. This is not a Carrera 4. It's not a cab, but it's not a manual. There are a couple of cosmetic mods to this car. It's got the knockoff wheels, and he did the anodized fat. Yeah, you can see that in the pictures. Anyway, cool-looking car, sports seats. Unbelievable motor. It's a 7.2, so this is a wonderful driving car, despite the transmission. Don't get me wrong. If you had this car, you would absolutely love driving it. But, as a purist, we'd all want this. We'd all prefer the 6-speed. But here's another car, JP, that, if you're, kind of on the fence, you'd want to have a manual, but you'd be okay with a GTS if it's the right car. Let me ask you about the 7.2 motor and drivetrain. Sorry, I'm pounding the desk. Do the high miles on this car scare you? Because I'm guessing they wouldn't, and thus I'm predicting here's another tremendous value at the end of the year. So JP, I send to you a .2 PDK GTS with 97,000 miles, basically 100,000 on the clock. Yay or nay? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, if this car can be bought at a value, if the price is low enough, this is a great car.
So what's low enough to you? I know you don't.
Well, I mean, we'll get to the numbers in a minute, but these are still prone to cylinder scoring that can destroy the engine, but that's pretty rare.
Is there anything somebody could do with additives or a particular brand of gas to avoid it? No, you either get it or you don't.
Yeah, it's just a roll the dice on these.
It's more like roulette.
In the PDK, look, in the GTS variant, this car is magnificent. This is a great time. I mean, getting behind the wheels. Look, I've spent a lot of time, our good friend Jeff Weibel up in Seattle.
Hey, Jeff.
Recently lent me his 997.2 S, just an S, not a GTS, but just an S cab with PDK.
Sick car.
And it had the sport suspension and stuff like that. And we ripped those back roads, and we just had a blast in that car. And yes, I like cabs and stuff, but I know that the coupe is technically better. A GTS variant is where it's at when it comes to 911. So yeah, you're going to have a great time with this car, even though it's, I'm drinking soda with a PDK. But those high miles are definitely going to hold it back. A 997 is not a car you think about having much more than 100,000 miles. You are going to have all kinds of other maintenance issues. So this car is going to have things
specifically like what? What do you think? What are you talking about?
Water expansion tanks. And
Can't you buy that stuff used from Sarah Dackman in LA?
No, I mean the plastic parts. You definitely don't want to buy plastic part. It's $1,500. It's $2,000, $2,500. Every time you look at this car, it's going to be another $2,500. You're not talking. It's not like a Ferrari.
Thank God Volkswagen makes all those parts in a different box, right?
Unfortunately, not. I mean, some of them yes, some of them no. Brake components you can definitely find. Well, like my Macan, interestingly enough, which is an Audi, right? And the pump for not the ABS, but for the air ride suspension, because it's a GTS that failed. And all these pumps they're the same damn pump that you get at Walmart to fill up an air mattress, right? I mean, they just have a thing on it, and it's the same stupid Chinese pump, right? Porsche wants $3,000 for them. The aftermarket companies still want $2,000 something for them. But my friend Daniel found one for like a few $100. Yeah. That didn't say any, and we put it in, and so far, knock on wood, it's great.
It's for swimming pools.
So yeah, it's just like, come on, guys. So Porsche parts definitely have a Porsche tax attached to them. I wouldn't be too afraid of this car, but again, if the price is right. If this car were a manual 6-speed and it had, call it 60,000 miles on it, this car, people would be murdering to get this car. But with the PDK and the high miles, it's going to hold it back. What do you think the number is going to be?
It's a good question. I'm looking it up right now just so we have some ideas. So it's a 911 and it's a, keep talking, JP. We're almost there.
Yeah, I do like the black on black color configuration. I will tell you that, but I don't like the whole, what do you call it? The wheel, the
you don't like the center locks? Really?
I think they look great.
Yeah.
But the problem with the center lock, well, among many other problems, like, you're not, if you get a flat, you're not swapping the wheel out on the side of the road. You're not putting a spare on this thing. It's getting on a flatbed and it's out of there. Okay, well, how many people are really doing that anyway these days? But really the big thing is like, dude, you can't, the space on that wheel, it's really, if you like lower one of these cars, if you want to put a more aggressive suspension on it, like some coilovers or whatever, you can't change the offset. You can't just put some spacers on there to bring the wheels out.
Right.
So if you do lower the car, the lower the car is, the more the wheel looks like it's set inside.
Yeah.
So it's really hard to get that stance.
So make your GTS with lugs, not center locks.
Correct. Our good friend Jason Alter has a 991 GTS, and he has the center locks on his, and he got some aftermarket wheels that look really nice, but the offset's a little off. So it's like, but whatever. I don't know. Okay, so what do we think this is going to bring?
All right, JP. So we do have to take into account this car is on PCAR Market. It closes basically in a couple days from now, and it's sitting at just $30,000 on 4 bids. If we can hold to almost certainty that Cars and Bids does not get a lot of action at the end. The opposite is true of PCAR Market. Lately, we see cars that like don't even have a bid, and then they finish with 20 bids, and they get like a retail number in the like final day. It's very interesting how they're like mismatch. And then with the cars, certainly with like popular 911s, when we look at them on Bring a Trailer, whatever the number is that you're looking at when we cover it with 2 days to go, you can almost count on it being 100% bigger than that number at the hammer, which is kind of funny. There are some patterns that the bid nerds have unearthed for you, because that is what we have dedicated our free time to doing for you. So again, just to recap, 4 bids, it closes in 2 days. It's sitting at 30 grand. JP, this car is somewhere between condition 1 and condition 2. So condition 1's like 65 grand. Condition 2 is like 80.
Have you noticed that there is an accident on this one as well?
No, I did not.
Somebody in the herd said their records. How was it cared for? Where'd it go here? Keep reading. Bob Kuntz has another driver plus accident report.
Yeah, well, very interesting. So saying this is to me, this car looks like a condition. It's not quite a condition 2 car. Condition 2 would say this is 80 grand. I don't think it's a 1.5. Oh boy, JP, it's really hard to say. 70 grand seems too low. 75 grand seems too high. Let's go. I'm going to pull a total JP here. I'm going to give you $72,997.
I think the nerds are with you. Lee Patet, hey, what's up, buddy?
Lee, you can't buy this car. This car
Randy
is not good enough for
says
us.
77,997. Randy's usually pretty darn good at this. Bob Kuntz is up there at 82,997. See what you did there. Everyone's playing the little 997 game. Tom Amenta, 75,997. Hans is at 72. Just 72 grand. No, nothing cute there. Anthony says 47.5 and into the chum bucket. You guys are nuts.
Anthony's smart. That is
Ross
funny.
is at 69,997. And frankly, Anthony, I agree with you, bro. I don't think I'm 45,997. That's where I'm at.
Really?
I don't know where it'll go in the chum bucket, but this car is DOA, man. It's too many miles. I'm sorry. It's just too many miles.
I think this car gets to like 72,000 bucks, which is my number, and I think it winds up in the chum bucket for $85,000.
No, not with look. If it had 50,000 miles, I think those numbers are correct.
Every GTS owner, and you could talk to Jason Alter about this, thinks he has the coolest car ever.
The owner does, but not the people with the money to buy one. They're looking for the 50,000 mile one. They're not. See, here's the thing about the modern Porsches.
Yeah, go ahead.
So we see this all the time with the air-cooled stuff. Like higher mile air-cooled cars bring some pretty big money. People don't like every SC out there. If you have an SC coupe, call it an 82 911 SC coupe with 148,000 miles on it. That is a $50,000 car, give or take, right? Just period.
Yeah.
But if you have a 997, if you have like a .1 997 with 50,000 miles, that would be, call it a $50,000 car, right? But if it has 101,000 miles on it, it's a $32,000 car. If it even sells. I don't even think the number matters. It's just the car is unsellable when you get a 997 that has over 100,000 miles on it. They just don't sell. Go to Craigslist, go to Facebook Marketplace, go to any place that you see used cars for sale, and they are littered with old 911s with over 100,000 miles on them. Same thing with 991s. There's a local one here in Las Vegas. There's a 991 it's a black on black. I think it's an S. It's probably not an S. It's probably a regular one. Just PDK. But this car is beautiful, one owner, but it's got 97,000 miles on it, and it's been for sale for 6 months. It was for sale when things were still hot, or at least warm, or at least lukewarm. And it's and the guy's trying to sell it for I think low 50s now. I think he could lower that car to $35,000, and it just won't matter. Wow. No one will do it because someone mentioned in the bucket here. One of our guys just said, Anthony. Yeah, Anthony says he has a friend of his that just replaced a PDK. And it cost them $20,000. That is the truth. Oof. Have you seen a PDK they are the most complex looking spaceship gizmos of all time. They are not. They get
you a like PCCB swap,
Right. It's like that. You could rebuild a manual one for less than half of that. So these PDKs are way too complex. And unfortunately, with the modern cars, you couldn't say, all right, well, my PDK's toast. Let's do a 6-speed swap, right? That would be a great opportunity to do that. Can't do it. The engine management, all the brain won't talk to, a manual swap. It would be price prohibitive to do it. So these PDKs with higher miles, it's not the first time I've heard of horror stories of having to repair those. Look at anybody that has a Panamera. The PDKs break on those all the time, and that pretty much totals out the car. So yeah, I think this is a great car, this GTS. But again, if it's like $40,000, all right, take a risk, drive it for a few years. Hopefully, it doesn't cost you another $25,000 to fix it, the PDK. Not to mention anything else. I don't know, man. I'm just pretty. You're the guy that pretty much got me here. If I'm honest, you're the one that's always freaking out about miles. I used to be like, I don't care about miles. It's a 997. Who cares?
And I'm like, look at all these high mileage cars, JP. It's raining deals, and you're like, I wouldn't touch that car with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah,
I wouldn't bang that car with your. So yeah,
B. Arthur's dick.
Very interesting. This will be one to watch for sure. I'm really curious to see what happens here. If like you and Anthony are correct, and people get like the market on PCAR, on this car, get off of it around $50,000. I say you guys are right on the money. If this car gets into the 60s and they get off of it and winds up in the chum bucket, and I say the rest of us are right, just depending on where it lands. So this will be this is one of those rare occasions where we have a huge spread between our bids because we're looking at what we think is going to happen on this platform differently. So I'm glad I picked this car because we're really going to learn something here. So anyways, that's a show, man.
Definitely a test.
Go home.
I want to shout out again. I know we've been saying it all show, but the Nerd Herd is rocking it. This is definitely one of the bigger audiences we've had live, and we just love that you guys are taking the time and to hang out with us.
So maybe starting early is a good thing, huh?
I think so. Yeah, well, telling everyone we're going to do it would probably help.
Now I have to tell my wife she can't work Wednesdays and Sundays because she has to take care of the baby that's awake when we go live.
The problem with a doomsday weapon is that you have to tell people that you have a doomsday weapon.
Yeah. $1 million.
So yeah, guys, what are you guys doing to spread the word? It's working, whatever you're doing. Are you guys going into the comment section on, Bring a Trailer and Cars and Bids, and are you mentioning us there? Or are you just telling your friends? I know that when you guys comment in the field here in the comment section during the live show, that definitely helps our algorithm. Having comments in the videos after the show is done later in the week definitely helps. I need to do a better job making sure that the thumbnails and the descriptions are all up there on time. That's I'm trying to get better at that. We all have things that we're trying to do in our regular lives, so I promise I will do better with that. But you guys are really carrying the weight, and I think it's the Nerd Herd that's really responsible for the growth of the show that we've seen recently. So we really do appreciate you guys.
Thank you.
And keep spreading that word. If you guys are looking to maybe get your PCAR, your classic Porsche repaired or serviced, give our friends a call over there at Godden Classic. Yeah. They can really hook you up over there. And
tell them we sent you. Tell them the herd sent you.
Yeah, or if you need parts, or if you're just looking for a classic Porsche, give Steve a call and give him, he may not have what you're looking for. But the thing about every time I go talk to Steve, it's like, oh, you only have this one classic? Oh, yeah, but and he'll list off the 4 things that are in the back that are just about to come out. Yeah. And the thing is, they never last very long.
I bet you they sell more than half their cars before they hit the front line.
Yeah, the word gets out very quick, and they always have really cool stuff.
Paul Kramer does that too. In the bottom of all his email announcements for a particular car are the other 3 cars in inventory and the 3 or 4 cars that are coming, and he winds up selling probably 30-40% of the cars that he retails prior to them ever hitting the front line. I bet you doesn't even have to photograph them. Those cars are pre-sold because there are people asking about them while they're still inbound to him. So while he's doing the recon work, those deals are being made. And so it's pretty cool. Night, nerds. Good night.
Welcome,
Buddha.
Dr. John 504. He's a new member. And yeah, we'll see you guys Wednesday. Oh, and if you need to sell your car, talk to our friend Michael Deeb here. He's a representative of Hagerty Marketplace, so he can definitely get you hooked up over there. Give him a ring.
Yeah, that'll work.
We'll see you guys Wednesday, a little earlier. Tell your friends.
Yep. Thank you.
Where's the end of the show? I got to find the thing that does the thing.
Hit the button.
I'm trying.
Hit the
Go first!